right, so we got Mike Tomlin's Week 18 press conference versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, so this is actually a pretty important game for a few reasons. One, the Bengals need to win this game in order to have a chance at the playoffs. It does not matter what else happens. If they don't win this game, they're out. The Steelers want to win this game because if by the slim chance the Browns can beat the Ravens, and I know the Browns are 18.5-point underdogs as of Mike Tomlin's press conference. I don't know if that line has changed at all or not. It very well may have. But, to be a three-score favorite, it's unlikely the Ravens would lose to the Browns, but they did lose once before, so who knows? Maybe the blind squirrel will find a nut twice. And if the Steelers don't win this, then it doesn't matter what happens in the Baltimore game. And then the Steelers have a chance at falling to 6. If they win, they're no lower than 5. And this is where and the NFC is a huge support of my opinion here, and it could be the opinion of many. I have no idea, but I don't think winning your division should automatically guarantee you a spot in the playoffs. It definitely shouldn't guarantee you a home playoff game, being one of the top 4 seeds. And we're seeing that in the NFC with the Lions and the Vikings. Both teams have had amazing seasons. Both are 14-2. Think about that. 14-2. 2 teams from the same division. That is insane. Now, one of those teams is going to be the number 1 seed, and one of them is going to fall all the way to the 5. And that is a travesty. It is. If you win your division, you can still get t-shirts and hats if you want. Yay, you were the best team in your division that year. Whoop-de-doo. But if you won your division with 6 or 7 wins, you shouldn't be in the playoffs. And we've had that before. And, the Texans have a worse record than Pittsburgh, yet they're ahead of them because they've won their division. The rest of their division was bad. So, I definitely think that needs to be changed. I don't know if I'm alone in that. But the Vikings and Lions are a huge, exhibit A of why it should be just the top 7 teams. Winning your division doesn't matter. If you won your division, but you're the 7th seed, okay, congratulations. You won your division. You were the best team in that division this year. But you're not getting a home playoff game, and you're the 7th seed, so you're going to the 2. That's just me. Let me know if you guys think the same, because in that case, the Steelers could be fighting for the 4 seed, in which that would give them a home playoff game, even if they didn't win the AFC North. So, yeah, that's just me, but let's get into Mike Tomlin's press conference.
Good afternoon. Excited about getting started this week in preparation for the Bengals. Last Thursday we came in after Christmas Day's game and met and analyzed not only that performance versus Kansas City, but really looked at some trends in most recent performances, and specifically some things that we have been talking about in this setting, things that have been building blocks for engineering victory for us, the turnover culture, our ability to safeguard the ball, our ability to get the ball, really in recent weeks has been compromised. And we looked at that and analyzed that in an effort to flip that trend. Certainly, we've done a nice job largely over the course of the season of taking care of the ball and on the other side of getting the ball. But I think our inability to do those things really kind of shaped the most recent performances, particularly on Christmas Day, man. We turned that ball over going into the end zone That's significant. We turned the ball over at the start of the second half on the short field, provided those guys a short field, and you just can't give offensive units and offensive players like Mahomes short fields. You can't take points off the board when you're in scoring position. Touchdown, a field goal, and obviously with the ridiculous consistency of Boz this year, when you're turning the ball over in the red zone, you're definitively taking points off the board. Coupled with that, because it's two sides to the coin, we haven't seized opportunities when the ball has been on the ground or tipped up in the air. Our punt team, I think for the second time in 2 or 3 weeks, has had a ball on the ground that we weren't able to recover. We had a ball tipped up in the air that we had an opportunity to catch that would have given us great field position around the 30-yard line. We didn't catch that, and boy, you just need those type of splash plays, particularly when you're in tight ball games versus good people. Oftentimes it shapes the outcome of the game. I think back to the first time we played Cincinnati, we gave up a pick six early in the game, but we created a defensive score later in the game to offset that, and we won essentially by 1 score. And so if you're not taking care of it, you certainly better get it. And ideally, which is what we've done over the large part of the season, you want to be able to take care of it and get it. From a health standpoint, man, it looks like we're moving in the right direction, which is a good thing. Last game, we had significant people coming back, and Deshaun Elliott and George Pickens, to name a couple, Dante Jackson. This week, it looks like Joey Porter is scheduled to make it back, along with Ben Skoranek. And so getting a healthy outfit, particularly as you get toward the end of this season and lean in on the single elimination tournament, is big business for us. We're excited about the issues of dividing the labor up and having really a full stable at our disposal in the effort to formulate plans and make plays. It's going to be needed, quite honestly, because Cincinnati is red hot. And so let's talk about them and talk about what they've done to kind of produce this 4-game win streak that they're on. First of all, defensively, they're taking the ball away. I think they've got 11 turnovers since the last time we played them. I think that's number 1 in the NFL in that span. But not only taking the ball away, it's just winning where it's happening. They were playing Dallas. They were in a 7-7 football game. They had an interception in the red zone. They took 7 points off the board for Dallas, which was significant. Cleveland goes down the field on the first series of the game. They get a turnover on the 1-yard line. I thought that was significant. Top of the second quarter, they were playing Tennessee. Tennessee was up 14-7. They were in field goal fringe. 91 came through and took the ball away from the quarterback, and not only did they not get a field goal, but obviously the Bengals got the ball, and I think that's just kind of reflective of how they've been playing. Denver had the ball at about 2 minutes left to go in regulation just the other day, and they had a big interception from their linebacker and underneath coverage. And so not only are they getting turnovers, but they've been really opportunistic in terms of the when and where, the significant moments to preserve points in a timely place on the field from a field location perspective. And that's what good defenses do. They've done a lot to kind of generate those opportunities. I think they've been really aggressive in terms of secondary blitzers. Mike Hilton in battle in particular. They bring them in all downs, first down, second down. They really discourage and cut up your run game with some of the negativity that they're able to create, with some of that pressure. You get behind the sticks. You're in a bad circumstances with these guys. 91 leads the league in sacks with 14, and so if you get in a one-dimensional passing situation and you're behind the sticks, chances are he's got an opportunity to wreck things, and he's done that really consistently. I think he closed the Cleveland game out with a sack late in a one-dimensional moment, for example, since the last time we played him. And so those are some of the things that are going on defense that really have our attention. Really, on the offensive side for the Bengals, man, it's more of the same. Joe is putting up MVP-like numbers. I think he's thrown 3 touchdowns minimum in every ball game since the last time we've seen him. He's spreading the ball around to a variety of eligibles. Certainly, Chase is getting it, and T. Higgins is getting it. but everyone's getting it. Shoot, last week the tight end I think had 12 targets, but he threw for 400 yards. And so when you're putting up those type of numbers, everybody has an opportunity to be significant. We got to do a real good job of playing as a collective. That's what's required when you play a group that's as hot as this group is, and a player that's as talented and hot as Joe is. It's not about individual playmaking. It's about collective playmaking. It's about rushing coverage. It's about mixing things up. He has great continuity in terms of the people that he works with, not only his eligibles, but from a staff perspective. When you play a guy like that that's on top of his game, that understands what people are, that understands what's asked of him, that understands his schematics inside and out, you better also focus on yours and what you do well, and things that you know and understand and can execute under duress. And so, you know, that'll be our mentality. It'll be 60 minutes of playmaking. Just like last time, man, he made some plays. We made some plays. We better make more if we want this game to unfold in the manner in which we desire. Certainly they're a motivated group trying to play their way into this tournament, but certainly we're a motivated group, to be quite honest with you. We got to get the stench of the last few performances off of us, and there's no better way to do that than a home divisional win versus a formidable group going into the tournament. And so that's our mentality as we stand here today. We had some real good meetings to get things kick-started this morning, and we will continue. Excited about doing it in Acrisure at prime time on Saturday night. Some injuries that I didn't mention, you know, Corey Trice, you know, might be limited at the early portions of the week, but expect him to be available. Same thing could be said for Jalen Warren and some other guys that are managing some bumps and bruises. But to come off of a long weekend like we have, man, that's been a benefit to us. Guys that have needed rest have gotten rest. Guys that have needed rehabilitation have gotten that. And so we're excited about starting our physical work tomorrow. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
When you met last Thursday, did you address some of the kind of bickering that was going on among the defense about each other, and did you quell that kind of?
You know, I didn't do much about it, man. They bicker because they care, and we weren't playing well. And oftentimes, the solutions is born out of conflict and confrontation, particularly when you're in the business that we're in. And so we're not going to let an issue like that be a big issue. It's really not. Guys expressing truth and working to seek solutions, and sometimes emotions are involved in that. And so most of the time when you get out of those circumstances, you're able to move on as a collective, and I feel like we certainly have done that.
How did you treat, this was almost as big as your real bye week, it was 11 days, this was 10 days. Did you treat it as a bye week or in terms of its structure?
We certainly did, meaning, as I mentioned, we gave the guys some time off. Those that had an opportunity to get some rehabilitation got it, and it gave us as a staff an opportunity to reflect on some schematics and how we're dividing the labor up to make sure that we're, you know, extracting all the meat off the bone in those regards.
How do you assess the mentality or just the mental state of where your team is right now going into this last regular season game?
I feel really good about what I felt from them today. We were very transparent about what needs to be done and our course of action in an effort to create it. But again, I think we show mentality with our urgency and how we work, and so I'm excited about getting back on the grass tomorrow and starting the process. But some bright eyes, man, some rested faces. Felt real good about what we were able to get done in the classroom-like setting this morning.
What's your method of motivation and connecting with players when you go through a tough stretch as you've just gone through, knowing that the tournament is coming up?
Really, for me, it's no different. I'll utilize whatever tools at my disposal in an effort to get their attention. And more than anything, I'm really transparent. But I'm the same way under good circumstances, and I think that's important as a leader. There's a lot of emotions in this game, man. Those that get an opportunity to play it, my job as a leader is to be what they need me to be. And so from time to time, that could be a myriad of things. But largely, I motivate through information. I'm one that believes you give a capable man valuable information, he does the rest.
Give him
That's
the
the
answers to
spirit
the
in which I
test.
coach.
Sean Elliott after the game talked about how there were mistakes that were happening in week 17. Those are weeks 1 and 2 mistakes, and you know, as far as coverage breakdowns and mistakes leaving guys open. when those things are happening at this state, this late in the season, are personnel switches, changing how you use guys, something that you guys are considering right now, and what might some of those?
Oftentimes, those lapses that you mentioned are occurring because of personnel switches. Deshaun himself has missed a block of games in recent weeks. Dante Jackson has missed some time. Joey Porter has missed some time. And so what you've been looking at is some of those personnel changes that you suggest. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about having all the guys at our disposal in preparation this week.
Mike,
Russ
from
had-
an
Go ahead.
from an on-field standpoint, can that cohesion come back pretty quickly? What you're
It better, huh? You know, no rest for the weary, man. We're excited about it, though. It's the National Football League. You know, the road is getting narrow, and it's good to be in the position that we're in. Certainly, we could be in a better position, but by the same token, we also could be in a worse position. And so we are where we are. We're excited about the opportunity that is this week and beyond.
Russ had, you talked about turnovers. Russ has had a couple, the last couple critical ones the last 2 weeks. How do you approach a player with that much experience who obviously kind of knows better in general? What's your message to a guy like that?
Much like I was talking about my motivational tactics, it's information. I'm information based in my leadership, and so, you know, we talk about the realities of what transpired and why, and how we can minimize the potential of it occurring again. Not only as it pertains to his negative plays, but anyone's negative plays or the collective's negative plays. I'm an information guy.
After Wednesday's game, Russ kind of emphasized the need to respond the right way and get on the right footing going into the playoffs. How do you do that?
Win.
How important is it to change the momentum? You mentioned getting the stench of the last game off. How important is it to do that in the regular season before you reach the playoffs?
As I mentioned, I think it's significant for us, and that's why we're excited about the opportunity that is this week.
The Ravens win at 3 o'clock. Do you consider resting people? How do you approach that? Do you know? I mean,
I haven't pondered that at all, to be quite honest with you. That might be a thought for later in the week, but as I mentioned, I think it's significant how we go into this tournament, and so I doubt that I'll be in that mentality that you mentioned.
Mike, when you mentioned the injuries, I don't think you mentioned Justin Fields. He was inactive the last week. Do you expect him to work back in this week?
I do.
What are the injuries for Corey and Jalen?
Just in-game wear and tear, bumps and bruises associated with play that may limit them at the early portions of the week, but not going to be significant in terms of their availability.
Jalen's been an effective runner and receiving back when he's been in the game. Just what is it about him, especially the last 2 weeks, that's kind of created that?
You know, he's a good player. He missed, you know, some time due to injury at the early portions of the season that probably slowed the overall trajectory of his game in 2024. But when he's available, he's significant. He's significant in the running game. He's significant in the flat passing game and in space. He's just got a nice skill set, particularly as it pertains to winning one-on-ones.
Mike, how much more is Joe Burrow using his feet? Is he kind of back to where he was a couple of years ago as far as that standpoint?
No, I don't see any change or trend since the last time we played him. He does a nice job of extending plays, buying time for guys to get open. Oftentimes people allocate 7 to defend their upfield runners, and so plays don't always unfold in a timely manner. He's got big-time mobility. He's got great field presence, and he utilizes both in an effort to make plays, particularly in weighty one-dimensional moments. Red zone, he had a touchdown against us in the red zone running up into the pocket. He did the same thing versus Cleveland. It's just typical Joe Burrow from my perspective.
Are there things in particular that you guys have to improve as far as protecting those escape lanes? You know, like plays that Patrick Mahomes made last week and Lamar Jackson. It was more about the fact that you're playing these high-caliber opponents.
You know, I think a lot has to do with the special talents that the two guys that you mentioned have, and that's why they're routinely mentioned as you know, MVP-like candidates. But again, for us, it is the collective. It just is, man. If we're rushing 4, we got to do a good job of maintaining coverage on the back ends if plays get extended. If we rush 5 or more, we got to do a real good job of getting home and do a good job in coverage, particularly in those one-on-one circumstances that oftentimes 5 or more creates. And so for us, it's about a mix. It's about rush and coverage working together, however you slice it, and reaping the rewards of of guys understanding the collective component of our operation.
On Sunday, Saturday, Wednesday, you have to wait till Sunday to know you play Saturday, you have to wait till next Sunday to find out you play Saturday, Sunday, Monday. How do you kind of keep the routine and
The hell?
or establish it for your guys?
It's ball for us. It's ball for everyone. I know it's great for the fans. And so from that perspective, I don't waste a lot of time pondering the possibilities. I simply wait for news and try to do the best I can to prepare regardless.
George Pickens seemed visibly frustrated at the end of the last game, just on the field. What have you seen from him, and how have you two interacted since then, as far as what you guys need from him in big moments?
Just saw him in the training room. Maybe he had a smile on his face. It was good to have him back. Certainly the game didn't unfold the way he or we would like. But as I mentioned, you know, frustrations are a component of losing. I tend to focus my energies on constructing victory and worry less about those things. We got good people, including George. We're able to get over some of those bumps in the road that's associated with failure and keep it moving.
How much is momentum at the end of this regular season heading into the playoffs? Is there a correlation there if you want to make sure you're
You know, in some instances it has been, in some instances it hadn't. But I think given a preference, you certainly prefer momentum.
Is there a number you feel comfortable with the going into a game with Boswell? He can go X amount of yards, or does he tell that to you pre?
You know,
Probably
just in
within
general,
60.
I feel good with Boz under any circumstance, but oftentimes in-game circumstance will dictate, you know, the outer reaches of that range, and into the field, venue. There are a myriad of variables that kind of go into the equation, but
Do you want to
just
try a
know that,
59-yard field
you know, I
goal
feel pretty
or
good sending Boz
punt?
out
You
there under
know,
any circumstance.
depending on what the situation
Perfect
is.
kicking. Do you even mess with him? Do you even talk to him, say anything? You just let him do what he does?
You know, we got a relationship certainly, but it's not a lot of coaching required, man. When you're, you know, the success rate is what he's got going on this year. He's been a big time asset to us, certainly.
Talk about some of the shortcomings you guys have had, you know, turnovers, things that you guys have been good at. How do you coach this team to get back to doing the things that it's been good at outside of this past 3 games?
I coach him the exact same way that I've coached him in that regard all year. We've had that agenda all year, and largely it's been good for us. We didn't wane in terms of the agenda. The production has not been what we wanted it to be, but it doesn't mean that we change our approach to business or our values. We value protecting the ball. We value getting the ball. We're going to continue to live that life. We're going to continue to emphasize it not only in our words, but in our physical action leading up to performance. But we've done that, and it will continue.
Do you value having players who've been part of a turnaround, like the 3-game skid you guys had last year? You win 3 games to get to the playoffs. Is that something that you value or even think about?
You know, I think that everybody in these locker rooms, not only ours, but others, have been a part of things that you mentioned. You don't get to, you know, perform at this level unless you've smiled in the face of adversity and overcome some things. And so I generally always proceed with that assumption. I proceed with the assumption that we all have a can-do approach, that we're all products of experiences that have put us here, and it's been a lot of success, a lot of smiling in the face of things. And so we don't waste a lot of time pondering that. We just know that it's there for individuals and for the collective.
Mike, on the interception that Russ threw against the Chiefs, it looked like maybe George broke off his route a little early. Was that the case, and how do you maybe assess the effectiveness of George's route running?
Not at all. George's route running had zero to do with that interception. George was fine last weekend or last Wednesday.
You have 3 young offensive linemen that are at or are going to cross the most ball they've played in the season. How do you assess how those guys are kind of holding up to the toll of the course of the year?
Man, I've been really pleased with their performance and their ability to, you know, grow in the midst of accumulation of a lot of snaps. You know, but they bring a unique background. You know, Mason McCormick, man, been a part of national championships. He's played 15, 16 games in the college season. Zach Frazier is as experienced as a rookie can be in terms of starting and playing in a Power 5 conference. And so, you know, I think that although I've been pleased with their ability to sustain, I don't know that I'm surprised by it, given what I just outlined for you, particularly regarding those two.
Like in both the Ravens and the Chiefs game, there were some touchdowns in the end zone by both of those opposing teams with players wide open. you mentioned you looked at trends. Was there something, a common thread between those? Was it schematic? Was it communication-based, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both.
Mike, how do you determine if you're going with Beanie or Cam Sutton? I know Sutton's been getting more late recently.
You know, I think we determine division of labor week in and week out based on a variety of variables. It's no different than the conversation that we have regarding Landon Roberts and Peyton Wilson, for example, or the tight ends. You could pick any component of play. We divvy the labor up, and we try to put guys in position to show what they're capable of and things that provide the best matchup for us relative to those that we compete against. And so the nickel position is no different than the inside linebacker position or the tight end position or the wide out position, where we play multiple people in certain spots and particularly given certain circumstances.
Backing off of Jenna's question, when it is schematic and communication is the same, it's a bit of both there. How do you go about correcting that at this stage of the season?
You know, a lot of our issues or challenges are multi-layered and complex. It's just business in the NFL. It's chess, not checkers. And so we got to make some schematic adjustments. We got to make some divisional labor adjustments. But those are discussions that are ongoing week in and week out, even when you're successful. And so I'm not going to try to elevate that or mislead you like something is going on different. We got to put together a good plan this week. We got to do a really good job of presenting it to the guys. They got to do a real good job of absorbing it and preparing individually and collectively, and then we'll go into the stadium and play.
Mike, what did your offense need to do to kind of get back to where you were against Cincinnati the first time?
Take care of the football and stay on schedule. I think when we stay on the schedule and we take care of the football, we're a formidable group, and at times, particularly in the last several weeks, we've been spotty in those regards.
Anyone else? All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Perfect. That's exactly where I wanted to pause. All right, so got a few notes here. So first one, Steelers are on a bit of a bad luck streak right now. The ball is not bouncing their way as far as turnovers are concerned. I think it was Patrick Queen who, on a tipped pass, had the football basically go right through his hands or arms or whatever, when really that should have been an interception. The fumbled punt by Kansas City, guy gets hit, ball pops out, hits 54 on Kansas City in the back, and bounces back the other way and recovered by the Chiefs. So it's just the past couple weeks, some bad bounces. Ravens put the ball on the ground 3 times. We didn't get a single one. Yeah, when we finally put the ball on the ground, they recovered. Same with Kansas City. Freiermuth fumbles, and Kansas City recovered. I did write this down. Boz has 40 field goals this year, I believe is the exact count. The record is 44. So for him to beat it, they would have to kick 5 field goals versus Cincinnati, which I'm okay with it if we score like 40 or 45 points. But if we score, say, 29, then that'd be like 5 field goals and like 2 touchdowns. So I'm not as okay with it. But if you put up 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and then you get the 5 field goals on top of it, I'm a little better about that. But I don't think Boz is going to end up breaking the record, unfortunately. Sounds like we're coming in pretty healthy this week. We're going to be getting some guys back that missed last week. Joey's going to be back, which is awesome. Some guys who suffered injuries. It doesn't seem to be too serious, so they won't really miss much time practicing, and virtually no time during the week. Now, by the time I'm recording this, we've had a couple injury reports come out. So, Roman Wilson, Cole Holcomb, and Dean Lowry have all been designated for their 21-day practice windows, Roman Wilson and Dean Lowry from IR, and Cole Holcomb from the PUP list. The Bengals D is vulnerable. We have seen that in, multiple weeks this season, where it seems like the defense just doesn't know what they're doing. But at the same time, we just saw it versus Denver. They can make plays, and we saw it versus us. The pick six, now it probably shouldn't have counted because, you could argue that should have been a flag. But who was it? Pratt, I think, that picked off Bo Nix last week. So, they can make plays occasionally, so you just can't let them. And with the way turnovers have been going lately, you really got to be careful. And then this was something that I really felt like was important. So not only are the Steelers coming off extended rest, but the Bengals are coming off a long game and now a short week. So they played Sunday, so now they have to play Saturday. So they get 6 days, whereas we get 7, 8, 9, we get 10 days. So it's 10 versus 6, and Cincinnati went to overtime. And it wasn't like, okay, Cincinnati gets ball, goes right down the field, touchdown, game over. In that case, it's one extra drive, which that's not that bad. But it was most of overtime. I think all but a minute and change maybe of overtime got used. So, you essentially played a fifth quarter or most of a fifth quarter, and now you're on a short week. So it's going to be very hard physically for Cincinnati this week. And the Steelers, when they have extended rest, they're very good. Look at their Monday Night Football record. So this could very well be a very well-rested Steelers team, a very well-adjusted Steelers team, and a Bengals team that, they didn't have to play 3 games in 11 days, but, overtime in a short week, which, if the NFL says so, the NFL says so. I was a little surprised by that. I really thought they were going to have the Ravens and the Steelers playing games at the same time. That way you don't know the result. Because that's the thing. If the Ravens win, okay, we can't win the division. But if the Ravens lose, okay, we know. It'd be the same thing if Pittsburgh were to lose, right? If they played first and they lose. And, okay, Baltimore's like, oh, we don't have to play anybody. We win the division. Lamar, we're not going to play you. This guy, we're not going to play you. This guy, we're not going to play you. No. Had they played the same time, then you're scoreboard watching and all, but whatever, NFL. So we gotta communicate on defense, and players just need to do their jobs. And that's what sounds like the issue is you're having a little bit of a communication issue. And you're trying to do more than what your assignment is. And by doing that, you're leaving guys wide open. Whether it be Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce, whoever is being left open. I think Xavier Worthy, there was a very, very quick play, but he's that type of speed where, okay, the ball's in your hand, and he was able to beat, who was it, maybe Minka to the goal line. But guys just have to do their jobs. Don't do more than that, because that's when you can get into trouble. Now, that's also when you can make an amazing play, and maybe the guys are pushing a little bit. Oh, I have to make a play. I have to make a play. I have to make a play. Well, you guessed wrong, and now what? So get a win to help morale. Tomlin said get the stench of the past 3 games off of you. but I'm just going to say for morale. Because that's the thing. Like, the Steelers, in less than 2 weeks, essentially, went from 10-3 to 10-6 in 11 days. They lost 3 games against 3 of the best teams in the NFL. And you gotta win just for a little bit of morale. Just to be like, okay, we didn't lose 4 straight going into the playoffs. Because that, you're just reeling at that point. And who knows what's going to happen. You know, if you're down, and that's the thing, like, your body could be okay, but what about your brain? What about your mental? You know, and then Mike Tomlin said, you know, guys are probably going to be playing no matter what the result in Baltimore was. And that's to help get the stench off, as he said. Now, I could see if the game gets out of hand in either way, you know, 5 minutes left. Or maybe not 5. Let's say a quarter's left, right? And your Steelers are down by 28. You know, probably pull the guys, you know. Or fourth quarter and the Steelers are up by 28. And then do you pull your guys? So, but then the argument there is the Cincinnati Bengals offense is so explosive. Do you pull your guys? Or do you wait until halfway through the quarter when you're still up, say, 21? You know, it's a little iffy. But, no, I mean, if there's only a couple minutes left and you have the game in hand, pull your guys. Or if the game is out of hand, pull the guys. You know, depending on the situation. That way, you don't risk a last-minute injury on a game that doesn't mean anything at that point. So it was reported, because I think Russ said it, but people were talking about how George Pickens was supposed to go deep on the interception, which would draw the attention of the safety for a double team, leaving Pat open. Now, it wasn't a great pass. Maybe I'm just looking at bad angles, but it didn't look like a great pass. And it was intercepted by Justin Reed. Why? Because George stayed shallow, which didn't draw the double team from the safety, and therefore he stayed with Pat, and there you go. And Mike Tomlin said, no, George staying, cutting the route off early did not affect the interception, which I don't know if I believe that or not, but whatever. It was speculated by the commentators during the game, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought Russ said, yeah, that was supposed to be the play. Like, George was supposed to go deep. And then he said, but I can't make that mistake. So it was like a little bit of a throw under the bus, but take some heat yourself. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I misunderstood something, but I thought that was the growing suspicion. And it does seem like other teams are having some coverage issues as well. And, you know, people may think, well, you know, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Giants, the name this bad team, aren't in the playoffs. We are. You know, they're bad teams. You know, that's why they're having top 10 picks, let's say. But I watched the Hard Knocks episode, and the game of the Texans versus the Ravens, which I really didn't watch because it was Christmas. In fact, I only caught most of the Steelers game. So, but the Texans and Ravens game, Mark Andrews had a wide open touchdown, wide open, and that's the Texans, a team who's in the playoffs. Now, granted, yes, they won their division, but they're still, 9 wins right now they're at? but they're like a 9 to 10 win team. So they definitely are not a bad team by any means necessary. And Mark Andrews wide open. So it's happening with other teams as well for whatever reason. And maybe it's the same reasons with Pittsburgh. Guys are just trying to do too much. So, yeah, that's all my notes. So this is a very, very important game. I think, we want to knock Cincinnati out of playoff contention, and we can do that with a win. Not only that, but again, Browns being a 3-score underdog, but in theory, it's possible that they beat the Ravens, and if we win the division. So, it's going to be interesting to say the least, but that is it. If you guys did enjoy this, please do leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, turn notifications on, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.